Before we begin, this video is made to benefit the Promontory chapter of the National Railway Historical Society and the Utah State Railroad Museum in Ogden, Utah. For more information, check the link in the description. Now, on with the video. Hello everybody, and welcome to Engines of the Rio Grande, where I talk about locomotives that were owned by the Denver and Rio Grande Western Railroad. In this video, we're going to be doing another double take and talk about the Rio Grande's best diesel switchers, the SW1200 and SW1000. By the 1950s, diesel switchers had been well established on railroads across the US, and the biggest locomotive producers were already building diesel switchers as well as road switchers. During this time, EMD's SW9 had been a reliable and successful switcher, with over 800 units sold from 1950 to 1953. However, it had a slight problem with its engine, the 12-cylinder EMD 567B prime mover. The 567B engine block had a bad habit of leaking water. This was caused by the design of the crankcase water deck. The crankcase water deck is the part of the engine block where cooling water circulates to cool the cylinder liners and exhaust risers in the 567 prime mover. Due to its design, it was prone to water leaks, which required frequent maintenance. In 1954, EMD succeeded their SW9 line with the SW1200. The SW1200 featured an upgraded 12-cylinder EMD 567C prime mover, although it had the same amount of horsepower as the SW9, that being 1200 HP, it eliminated the leaking problem from the 567B. Also, the SW1200 marked a change in EMD's naming practice, as EMD shifted to a naming system based on horsepower for their diesel locomotives. This naming practice wouldn't change, at least for road diesels, until the arrival of the GP30 in 1967. Check out my video on the GP30 and GP35 for more information. Naturally, like practically any other EMD diesel at the time, the SW1200 sold incredibly well. 1,052 units were sold from 1954 to 1966 to 80 North American railroads. The SW1200 was known for its reliability and its durable design, which made maintenance simple. The Missouri Pacific owned the most SW1200s at 116 units, with its subsidiary, the Texas and Pacific, owning 20 units. Around the time the SW1200 was wrapping up production, EMD was transitioning from the 567 prime mover to the new 645 prime mover. Along with the new diesels equipped with the new prime mover, EMD introduced the SW1200 and SW1000, replacing the weaker SW600 and SW900 in their catalog. These two would be the first EMD diesel switchers to be equipped with the 645 prime mover, even though the two switchers shared the same prime mover and standardized frame. The SW1500 had a 12-cylinder engine, which was rated at 1500 horsepower, while the SW1000 had an 8-cylinder engine, which was rated at 1000 horsepower. The SW1500 would go on to be a popular switcher for railroads, as 808 units would be produced for 58 railroads. In the SW1000, not really. But it's not for the reasons you might think. Although the SW1000 proved to be a good locomotive, it was tall. Too tall. The locomotive was a lot taller compared to previous switchers and wasn't suitable for work in industrial facilities, which were a target customer for EMD. Steel mills and factories often had tight clearances in low overhead structures designed for the smaller dimensions of previous EMD switchers like the SW1200. As a result, the number of SW1000 sold was small at 119 units compared to other EMD switchers at the time. Ironically, 2 years later, EMD produced the SW1001, which had a shortened height and would gain more orders than the SW100, even if it wasn't that much. But various railroads still liked the SW1000. The Burlington Northern would own the most SW1000s at 43 units. The Rio Grande would also purchase the SW1200 along with the SW1000 later on. But how would both diesels fare on the action road? The Rio Grande ordered one batch of SW1200s at almost the tail end of their production in 1964. 10 locomotives numbered 130 through 139, which were delivered in December 1964 and January 1965. As for the SW1000s, they were ordered and delivered in two batches. The first batch, 140 through 146, was delivered in 1966, while the second batch, 147 to 149, were delivered in 1968. An interesting note for the SW1000s is that the first batch was equipped, at least initially, with friction-bearing trucks, while the second batch had roller bearings. Can you take a wild guess which batch had to deal with kid friction the least? The two breeds of switchers were assigned to various yards across the Rio Grande, including Denver's North Yard and Burnham shops, Roper Yard in Salt Lake City, Alamosa Yard in southern Colorado, and even yards in Salida, Minturn, Colorado Springs, and Pueblo. The SW1000s in particular actually did well. They were very effective in the Rio Grande's larger classification yards, where height clearances were not an issue, and thus they could be used to their full potential. As the old saying goes, it's not the size that matters, it's how you use it. There's a certain joke to be made here, but I will not humor the degenerates in the back. Additionally, SW1200 130 operated with yard slug number 25 at Grand Junction, while 131 was equipped with a dual-gauge coupler from 1966 to 1970 as a narrow-gauge San Juan extension, not to be confused with San Juan trains, aka San Juan branch line, was still in service until 1968. As mentioned before, the Rio Grande merged with the Southern Pacific in 1988. By the 1990s, with the advent of newer switchers and various other locomotives like the Jeeps, which got bumped from mainline work to yard work, the Southern Pacific slowly began retiring the SW1200s and SW1000s. Retirements first began in 1993 when SW1200 131 was involved in a wreck and was then sold to Progress Rail. Then 136, 146, and 148 were retired in November 1994. 130, 131, 137, 138, 140, 147, and 149 were retired in 1995. 132 and 134 were retired in 1996 and 1997 respectively, while the remaining switchers 133, 139, 141, 142, and 144 were retired on July 14, 1998. (130, 136, 137, 140, 146, 147, and 148 were sold to Progress Rail. 135, 138, 143, 145, and 149 were sold to Omnitrax. However, out of all the SW1200s and SW1000s that were retired, one is now preserved, or at least it's about to be preserved. Rio Grande SW1200 133, after being sold to Diesel Supply Co. in Hudson, Wisconsin, was then sent around various short-line railroads before the Southeast Farmers Co-op donated it to the Promontory chapter of the National Railway Historical Society. It is currently on display at the Utah State Railroad Museum in Ogden, Utah, and plans are in motion to bring it back to operational condition. A GoFundMe has been set up for the restoration of 133. As of the making of this video, the Promontory chapter has raised over 50% of their goal of $15,000. If you want to help donate, there's a link in the description to the GoFundMe page. When it comes to the technical specs of these two switchers, the SW1200 was equipped with the EMD 12-cylinder 567C prime mover, which was rated for 1200 horsepower. The SW1000 was equipped with an EMD 8-cylinder 645E prime mover, which was rated for 1000 horsepower. They both ran on GRS rigid bolster AAR Type A trucks in the B-B wheel arrangement and had a fuel capacity of 6,000 gallons. the SW1200 weighed 245,000 pounds, while the SW1000 was lighter at 230,000 pounds. The SW1200 had a starting tractive effort of 74,000 pounds, while the SW1000 had a starting tractive effort of 57,500 pounds. However, both had a continuous tractive effort of 36,000 pounds, and both had a top speed of 65 miles per hour. The SW1200 was equipped with a horn that I wasn't able to identify. I presume the SW1000 may have also used it, but here's a sample of it here. The SW for both locomotives stood for the fact that they were switchers, while the 1200 and 1000 in both names stood for how much horsepower they had. If you somehow aren't able to put 2 and 2 together, it's 1200 horsepower and 1000 horsepower. Despite only working in the yards across the system and being less known than some of the Rio Grande's bigger diesels, let alone steam engines, I'll start getting to them this year, I promise. They played an important part, switching into many rail yards of the Denver and Rio Grande Western Railroad, the main line through the Rockies. Thank you for watching this video. Once again, special thanks to Mike Studios for helping me with the script. And also to these people here for photos and videos. Also, apologies if some of you waited too long for this video. I was on winter break, then I had some trouble restarting my motivation to make this episode. But here it is anyways. Next episode I plan on doing after this episode will either be of the FT series of diesels, or all the Rio Grande's F units in one video. And don't you worry, for everyone who has been wondering when I'll get to the steam fleet, the episode after that one will indeed be of a steam locomotive the Rio Grande owned. What steam engine from the Rio Grande steam fleet will I cover first? You'll just have to wait and find out. Also, shout out to the Utah State Railroad Museum. Please help support the restoration of Rio Grande 133 by donating to the GoFundMe page. Again, the link is in the description. As always, be sure to like, comment, and hype the video. Also, please subscribe to this channel or I will make sure that your favorite steam excursion star will never be able to operate ever again. I mean, I kinda think that that's gonna work because BNSF1458 does it all the time in his videos. Thank you for watching, and until next time, sparkle, sparkle, sparkle. Have a good day.